I'd like to introduce to you DeeDee Vaughters, who is running for district number 26. She will tell you about herself.
I am DeeDee Vaughters. I'm going to try not to stand behind the podium because I tend to hate them. I don't know. I'm not a preacher, so I'm not very good with the podium. But I am DeeDee Vaughters. I'm running for Senate District 26. That is the Senate seat currently held by Nikki Setzler, Democrat from right here over in KC, West Columbia area. I want to tell you a little bit about myself, and then I want to tell you a couple things I'm super passionate about, and then you can ask me anything and I'll go on the record. I think I'm even being videotaped. So I'm happy to go on the record. Anything, you can ask me anything. But first, a little bit about me. I am born and raised here in South Carolina, a little tiny town called Loris. Anybody know where Loris is?
Beach.
Beach. It's the last stop to buy cheap gas or beer on the way to North Myrtle Beach. So that's what it was pretty much known for. It's up Highway 9. Daddy calls it God's country. He said God is going to recognize it when he returns because not a darn thing has changed since he left it. And so that's where I'm from. Mom was a secretary in the tobacco market, and Daddy was a butcher. And that meant that every day the school bus had to stop and drop me off at the farm, which is where my parents grew up. Both of them grew up on farms. One granddad was a soybean farmer. One was a tobacco farmer. So every afternoon I was on the farm. Most of the summers I was on the farm because the parents were still working. And so basically, for those of you who are familiar with farm life, if you're walking, you're working. That's just the way it is. And so my job, my very first job, and I was paid for this in silver dollars by my grandfather, which I still have. I like to save money, in a safety deposit box. But my first job was to walk on the bales of bacca and get them ready for market. And I spent most of my young life with yellow feet, for people who are familiar with what tobacco really looks like. So that was my first job. Again, I told you that Mom was a secretary, Dad was a butcher, so we didn't have a lot of money. And when it came time for college, there was no money. But I knew I wanted to go, and I was the first person in my family to go. I had done pretty well in high school. I like to consider myself a pretty smart cookie. So I went on a partial scholarship and partial financial aid, and I waited tables all 4 years. So I started working young, and I've worked ever since. Graduated from college. Went to work for a company called Bungie Foods. They sell frying oil. You've probably never heard of them, but they sell frying oil to restaurants. So went to work for Bungie Foods, worked for them for several years, went to work briefly for Bristol Myers Squibb, and was here basically working from 1991 when I graduated till 1999. Something very important happened to me in 1999. I went on a blind date, the only one I've ever been on in my life, and I met my husband. And we've been married now for 13 years. I think it was pretty successful. If he should be here soon. He said he wanted to come to hear you guys. He doesn't care to hear me. He hears me all the time. But, is he behind me? So you'll have to ask him later. But he swears he went home that day and told his roommate. He said, I just went on a blind date with a woman who's going to be my wife because there's no way that woman could have voted for Bill Clinton. We started our romance talking politics. We continue our romance talking politics. And he is my favorite sparring partner. He keeps me honest, and we love the debate. And that's my sweet husband over there, 13 years. On April 10th, we have 3 children, an 11-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 4-year-old. I told you I left corporate America. My husband looked at me when it came time to finish his residency, and he said, I got this great job offer from Medical College of Georgia. Do you think I should take it? I laughed. Every other month, he was in the principal's office, if you could call it that. He was always in trouble with the medical director at the facilities because he was always challenging them. So there's no way, you can't deal in bureaucracy. We'll go out. I know they say single doc practices don't work in this country anymore. We'll do it. We did. He was a science mind, I was a business mind, and we built a very successful single doc practice. It's still running today. So I hit 40 a couple of years ago, and I looked at my husband and said, well, this has been fun, but what's in it for me? And I'm ready to do my own gig. So our Plan B to Obamacare, and by the way, my new company is called Plan B Services of Aiken. I'm not kidding. It is our Plan B to Obamacare. I bought a franchise of 1-800-GOT-JUNK, and I am now the queen of moving junk in the CSRA. I'm soon to be the queen of moving junk out of the Senate. So, Talbert came up with that one. Talbert came up with that one. So that's what I've been doing. I tell you, the day I got interested in politics, as you heard from my story of meeting my husband, I've been interested, I've been voting, I've been following politics for a long time. I became a grassroots activist in the year 2003. That day, a tax bill came in, and it was a property tax for my light fixtures in my office. I called my accountant. Surely there had been a mistake. I had never heard of this. Called my accountant, said there must be some mistake. I've been taxed for light fixtures, furnishings, and equipment. He said, oh, that's no mistake. That's called the merchant tax. And no worry. Is that from the county of Aiken? I said, yes. He said, you'll be getting one from the city next week. I said, lovely, lovely. So I'm being taxed on light fixtures. You and I have had this conversation. Furnishings and equipment. That day, that very day, I decided government had lost its freaking mind. Mm-hmm. That is too far. I'm done. I'm toast. I'm tired of sitting on the sidelines voting and whining. I'm becoming an activist, and I've been a grassroots activist since 2003. I joined the Policy Council 2 or 3 years ago because I told the story to Ashley Landis. She said, I love your passion. I love your fire. Come join us, girl. We'll change government. And I've been working to do that. Had some success in the city of Aiken. You're on city council, and you might can speak a little bit about your business license tax. In Aiken, and in most municipalities in South Carolina and across the state and across the country, they like to tax you for the privilege of doing business. Mm-hmm. You hire people, you put them to work, they spend money in the city, but you're still privileged enough to do business in our city. So we're going to do a business license tax, which is an excise tax, by the way, because it's based on your gross receipts. So you get to come in with your tax return to the window, and we'll calculate how much tax you owe, and then you can pay us a little bit more. In the city of Aiken, though, what I found out is while us small business owners had to do that, I asked one day, it just hit me, I don't know, it really was probably 2 or 3 in the morning. I sat up in bed and I said, I wonder who from the Walton family brings their tax return down here? And who from Chili's and who from Target? And I started running through all the big businesses that were located inside the city limits of Aiken and wondered who brought their tax return. So I asked, this is on video. I love video. This is on video. You should pull it up. It's a YouTube video. So I'm standing up addressing city council, and I asked the question, and I had the whole room just stared at me. And because they couldn't answer. The city finance manager, Kim Abney, hi Kim, on the record is behind me doing this. And she's being videotaped. Gotcha. And right now, that was it was so sweet, such a sweet success. We no longer, as small business owners, have to go to the city. We don't have to turn in our income tax returns anymore to have our business license tax calculated. They take our word for it. Now they can come audit us, but at least we're finally treated the same. Another thing about business license tax, and once I'm elected, I'm going to fight this as well. Do you know that we're all divided into categories? This is a lovely thing. And so I found out Walmart was in category 2, which is kind of like percentages of tax brackets. Walmart's in category 2. I'm not picking on Walmart. It's just they're open 24/7. So it's something, just a good comparison. They're in category 2. We're in category 7. We're taxed that much more than Walmart. So the doctor's office is open Monday through Friday from 8 to 5. I want to know what city services I'm using. I don't think the police have ever been there. I pay for water. I pay for trash pickup. But I'm taxed an immense amount more than Walmart. It's open 24/7. It has a cop sitting in the parking lot all day, every day.
Let me get this on camera so I can really be in trouble again. Scana moved, as you know, from Columbia to Casey. And that's a Fortune 300 company. Well, we don't have a utility category. So
Right.
we had to create one. So we have an ordinance. The first reading comes up. Everyone approves the first reading. Second reading is delayed. All of a sudden it comes up for a second reading. Nobody approves it but me.